Hey there and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Last time we left off, after what was a pretty chaotic episode at times, we had another run-in with the Chosen Hunter as well as about 50 lost, and even though not everyone escaped the fight completely unharmed, we did manage to acquire another engineer in Dr. Isaac Schmidt, as well as sharpshooter Bartosz Smoo and Ranger Jan Sobieski. Now today we want to start things off by assigning Engineer Schmidt, and you guys were all pretty much in favor of putting him into the infirmary, so that is what we're going to do to cut the building time in half from 31 days down to 16. And to further reduce both building and excavation times, we will also spend some time scanning at the Skirmisher HQ today, so that is what we're going to do next, at least for one more day, until our next monthly supply drop comes in.
Commander, we've located the site where Big Sky took off from. No immediate signs of activity. Hold on. Might have something. It's a weak signal on an open channel.
Region are of particular concern. All attempts should be made.
Is that Valen? Haven't had any signs of her since we lost HQ. Commander, if there's any chance she or Big Sky are still alive, we have to get down there.
Okay, so as you may have been able to guess already, this is another piece of DLC content that has now activated. Specifically, this here is part of the Alien Hunters DLC, and it is a good idea not to tackle this mission this early into the series. Together with the encrypted signal, we now have both of these smaller story DLCs on the map and ready to be started whenever we please. For the time being though, like I said, let us fly over to the Skirmisher HQ to speed up our building times.
Avenger plotting new course.
Priority message coming through, Commander. Putting it on screen now.
I had high hopes for the Resistance under your leadership, Commander, and you have outdone yourself.
Alright, and here's our monthly report. It looks like everyone is happy with our performance so far, although the progress bar on the Avatar project is of course slowly but steadily ticking along, so we should keep an eye on that to ensure that we stay on track.
Our friends in the Resistance have shared what they know of these so-called Chosen the Elders have sent after us. It sounds like we should expect these things to actively hunt us until we take them out.
With each passing day, I come closer to finding you and your remaining forces. Ready yourself.
Alright, and we have briefly talked about this already. The more time we give the Chosen, the more knowledge they will gain about XCOM, and the more knowledge they gain, the more dangerous their actions against us will become. For now, the Assassin has already moved into knowledge level 2 and can now attempt to sabotage the Avenger, which definitely has the potential to be quite a bit more impactful than just lowering our monthly income. At this point, we then also received the list of Advent's planned dark events, and you can see it here. There is a third one in the mix now that is currently hidden, although we could reveal it by spending some intel. However, we are not going to do that, simply because we need to make contact with the next region soon. In addition, we also want to take note of the returning Bending Reed Dark event, as well as the potentially more dangerous Return Fire, and the latter could make fighting priests and officers quite a bit more dangerous. Now, we'll see which one of these we'll get to counter with our next Guerilla Ops. For now, let us also assign some Resistance orders. Scavengers and the doubling of all scanned resource rewards from rumors has served us well so far, but for the moment I think we're doing well money-wise, so let us try out Vulture for 1 month. This one will give us extra loot to collect from the battlefield, and not only could there be a few pretty interesting things among that, worst case scenario, if nothing suits us, we can always sell it on the black market and make some money that way.
The benefits we gain from working with the Resistance factions on their covert operations are a major boon to our efforts. But there are also risks involved. Our soldiers could potentially be attacked or taken captive while in the field, so it's not as easy a decision as it may seem.
Alright, the new list of covert actions is up next, as we are now informed about operational hazards, basically different types of risks associated with all of these missions. As we head into the covert actions menu, you can see those risks in red over on the far right side, and of course they vary from mission to mission. Now, once again, we have a few things to choose from here. First and foremost, we could make contact with the third resistance faction, the Templars, and while that would be pretty useful, it is currently not at the top of my list. Alternatively, for both the Reapers and the Skirmishers, we could start hunting the respective Chosen, and not only would that get us closer to eventually taking out that Chosen, it would also raise our influence with the faction. That in turn would give us additional resistance orders and covert actions, so I think you can see where this is going. And with neither one of the other actions available for the Reapers and Skirmishers really convincing me, let us instead now begin hunting the Assassin. This will take 14 days and requires at least 2 soldiers, one of which at the rank of Sergeant, and the mission also comes with a moderate risk of getting a soldier injured or the entire squad ambushed, although we can negate the first one by sending out a third soldier. And let's do exactly that and send out Sergeant Alyssa West to lead the covert action, accompanied by Ranger Golden Warhawk, who will also grab a mobility reward if everything goes smoothly, and then finally Specialist Sophie Vintage Blade will negate the wounded risk, and of course also strengthen our squad should they get ambushed.
We'll get the job done. Don't worry, Commander.
Now, to wrap up the entire thing, we now receive our monthly supply drop, 244 supplies that will take us 3 days to acquire. They will remain on the map for a little while longer though, so let us instead keep scanning at the Skirmisher HQ. Alright, here we are. The Guerrilla Tactics School has produced another Grenadier in Squaddy Echo Dr. S. Sierra, and that means we want to immediately assign the next candidate in line.
Everything we've seen indicates the Chosen aren't going to stop hunting us, Commander. Our only option is to find them first. To do that, we'll need to work with the Resistance on a covert action in the ring.
And after once again being reminded of the importance of the Resistance ring, that next candidate will be Oscar Soler, nicknamed Zucchini, who we are going to turn into a specialist. At this point, we have 3 to 4 soldiers for each of the 4 base classes, so we don't have any pressing needs, but the specialist is one of those classes where in some missions in the later stages of the game it does make sense to send out 2 of them with different specializations, so I don't think that it hurts to train up 1 more. That will take 10 days though, so for the moment let us keep scanning. Up next then we finally have the construction of the Resistance ring. And there we are, the Resistance ring has been constructed, and with that we now own one of the most important facilities in the game.
Commander, the factions you have contacted are well equipped to track down the Chosen. Their knowledge will be invaluable in helping XCOM locate and eliminate these threats.
Now, the main reason why the Resistance ring is so important is that we can use it to launch covert actions whenever we want to, and not just at the end of the month.
We already have a covert operation underway, Commander. It will take some time to complete.
Sadly, for now, there is still the limitation that we cannot have multiple covert actions active at the same time, so on that end, not much has changed. One more thing you can see here is that for the 2 factions that we have already contacted, we have now received an additional covert action, and again, we could launch one of those as soon as the Hunting the Assassin mission finishes. On top of that, we could also upgrade the Resistance ring by spending 100 supplies and 2 units of power, and that upgrade would then give us 1 additional slot for Resistance orders, not covert actions. So with that upgrade we could then potentially have Vulture and Scavengers active at the same time, although as you can see right now we are lacking the power for it. Finally then, and this is something that we might actually do pretty soon, we can also assign an engineer to the Resistance ring, which then actually decreases the time it takes to complete those covert actions. And with covert actions potentially unlocking a wide array of useful rewards, and with us now able to pump them out one after another, this might actually be a worthwhile investment of 1 engineer, of course always depending on which covert actions we actually have available. Let us not dive too deep into that at this point though, for now we still have to hunt the assassin, so let's keep doing that while we also keep scanning.
Commander, we've received word that the aliens have completed a facility devoted to their work on the Avatar project. If we can establish contact with the local resistance forces in this region, we can make a move on that facility and destroy it to set back the aliens' operation.
Alright, the aliens have erected another facility to feed into the Avatar project, which means in just a moment we will see that progress bar rise to 5 out of 12 blocks. Now you can also see that despite already controlling West Africa, we do not appear to have a direct link to East Africa, so to make contact with the local resistance and attack this facility, we still need to make contact with Eastern Europe. Now one more thing you can see here, scanning at the Skirmisher HQ also gives us the occasional bit of intel, not a whole lot, but it does get us closer to our next target of 160. And speaking of next target, it looks like it's time for today's mission, as we now receive this month's Guerilla Ops.
Commander, with the number of contacts we've established, we're getting requests for support from multiple sites around the world. Unfortunately, we only have the resources to respond to one of them. The decision is yours.
Now, having established contact with 2 regions, we now have Guerilla Ops available in both of them. So that means we now have to choose one of them, much like we had to do a lot back in the first game, and we will make that choice primarily based on what the mission offers as a reward and also which dark event it counters. In Western Europe, we also have a very useful SITREP available, which might influence that decision, and considering that I don't really think we desperately need another sharpshooter, West Africa seems to lose the race here. Yes, countering the Return Fire Dark event would definitely be a good idea, but honestly I think even if that becomes active, that is not the end of the world, while the hidden event could potentially be much worse, and even if it isn't, supplies are always great to have. In addition, the Shadow Squad SITREP should probably also make this the easier of the 2 missions, despite what it says on the left side, so I think we will indeed head over to Western Europe next to neutralize ourselves an Advent Field Commander.
Western Europe.
Commander, it looks like conditions on the ground are ripe for a quiet operation. If we can get our people into place, they should each have concealed positions to work with.
And here's our squad for this one. We will embark with the bonded pair of Grenadier Nicholas Mouth Finlay as well as with Skirmisher Praetor Mox. Ranger Starfall Antek will also come along again, as will Specialist Van the Dam Dyke. And finally, Sharpshooter Smoo B, who we acquired in the last episode, will also get his first proper mission under his belt. Almost all equipment, including the weapons of the hunt, have already been assigned. At this point, we only want to attach a scope onto Nicholas's cannon, just to give him a small aim increase. Sniper Smoo already has the weapon that Sharpshooter Alyssa West used last episode, so for the moment there is no need to upgrade a second sniper with another scope.
Sky Ranger deployed.
In position for deployment.
A trusted source in the Resistance has confirmed that a high-ranking Advent military officer will be moving through this area as part of a routine patrol. We have an opportunity here to completely disrupt Advent's command structure and delay their current operations. All we have to do is neutralize that officer. Menace 1-5, we're tracking the Advent General and his escorts, but we don't have an exact fix on their location. Sweep the area and eliminate the target along with any other hostiles that stand in your way. The squad is in position and concealed. With the environmental conditions down there, they should be able to stay hidden without revealing each other if they're sighted.
Alright then, so far so good, we are all concealed, currently there is no mission timer, and we have the fairly straightforward task of finding and eliminating all enemies, with the Advent Field Commander of course being the priority target.
Position bestätigt.
Without the introduction of human DNA, these creatures once operating under the guise of thin men now show their true form, a purely reptilian species.
No reason for them to hide. The aliens don't need an infiltration unit anymore.
Alright then, as we start scouting with Van Dyke here, we immediately locate our first group of enemies, and we also meet a new enemy in the former Thin Man, now called the Viper. With 10 hit points, they have quite a bit of health, and they are also slightly more accurate than the standard Advent Trooper, although shooting at us is not necessarily their first choice in combat. Instead, a Viper usually either spits poison at us, much like the Thin Man, or it pulls an enemy close to it with its tongue, much like Praetor Mox does with his grappling hook. In the latter case, the Viper then likes to bind around its target and crush it, dealing a comparatively small amount of damage, but continuing to do so until the target is freed. So, long story short, a Viper will generally not instantly kill someone, but their tongue pull ability can completely disrupt our formation, so we definitely do not want to leave this one standing any longer than it needs to be.
On Overwatch.
For that reason, we are now putting almost all of our squad on Overwatch, and then we are going to open things with a hopefully guaranteed kill of the trooper using Cradle Mox's Justice. Justice, by the way, cannot be used on the Viper. The ability can only target humanoid enemies.
Accept your fate. Their casualties grow.
Alright, slightly buggy animation there, and the Viper also seems to take damage for some reason. The Trooper is very much dead though, despite not really looking like it, and the already applied 3 points of damage are probably these 3 here from Nicholas's reaction shot. One more thing you can see here, the Viper is actually able to dodge attacks, so the damage of a shot that would otherwise hit is now halved. Still, despite all of that, it looks like our ambush was enough to take this entire group out. Now, however, it is the aliens' turn.
We're picking up an inbound Advent transport. The aliens are going to try and extract the general from the AO. Don't let him get on board that ship.
And despite not having located the commander yet, the mission has just become a bit more tense, because as a result of revealing our squad, a 4-turn timer has just activated, and after those 4 turns the commander will escape and we will miss out on our primary objective. So let's try to avoid that and find more enemies. Thanks to the Shadow Squad SITREP, we can now put Ranger Starfall back into concealment and scout ahead.
I'm now. Position confirmed.
Both moves don't reveal anything though, so we should be safe to move everyone else up as well.
Verstanden. Rück ab.
This then brings our turn to an end, and the clock keeps ticking down. No movement then on the alien turn, but the commander is likely moving closer to that evac zone in the shadows, so let's keep moving ourselves and see if we can't locate them.
Got some hostiles grouped over here.
And indeed, there we are, that should be our target. The uniform is that of an Advent officer, but the health pool is quite a bit larger, which gives the commander's identity away. We also seem to have a lone Advent trooper a little further to the right here, not quite clear if they're part of a larger group that we cannot see, or if they belong to the commander. In any case, now might be a good time to put the rest of the squad back into concealment as well and move into position.
Moving there.
By the way, this is the Reaper version of concealment, meaning that if one soldier breaks it, for example by attacking, only that soldier will be revealed, the rest remain concealed. So it is quite a bit more powerful than the initial concealment we had at the beginning of the mission, and it hopefully gives us enough of an advantage for the upcoming turn.
I've got enemy movement here.
Okay, so from the left side we have coming in an Advent Priest as well as a Purifier, while the commander is slowly but steadily moving towards the evac zone.
Target identity confirmed. That's the general. Take him out before they can escape. We won't get another shot at this.
Bradford then also confirms what we already know, this is indeed our target, and I think with only 2 turns left on the timer it is time to strike. By the way, I just briefly had to restart the game because that dead Advent trooper who was still standing around was driving me nuts. Now it looks like the corpse has completely disappeared, and so we can now focus on our first move, which will be a sniper shot against the Purifier, which, considering the crit chance here, has a pretty high chance of taking them out.
No longer a threat.
I'm busted.
Okay, so like I said, Sharpshooter Smoo B has just lost his concealment, but he is the only one, which means our enemies are only aware of his presence. And speaking of enemies, we can already see a 4th group near the evac zone here, and it looks like we are dealing with another Viper, a Purifier and a Stun Lancer. They are not yet active though, only the Priest, the Trooper and the Commander are, and if possible I think we should keep it that way. The fact that 4 out of 5 soldiers are still concealed definitely helps with that, although for our next move here we will have to break concealment with Ranger Starfall Antek.
I'm on the move.
They've got eyes on me.
What we are trying to achieve here is to kill both the Trooper and the Priest, and we can hopefully do that by first using the free axe throwing action. A hit is almost guaranteed and would be enough for the kill. Lovely, that's the Trooper taken out, and Starfall has received a promotion as well. Let's see if he can now finish his turn with a successful slashing attack against the Priest. Alright, lovely. I had only hoped for max damage, but he even gives us a critical. So that's 2 more enemies down and 3 of our soldiers still in concealment. So let's take advantage of that and move those 3 up onto the high ground.
Enemy sighted.
At this point then, the final group of aliens finally spots us and rushes into cover, and a few seconds later the commander inexplicably does the same, which actually puts them in a great position for us, as they are now standing right next to an Advent purifier. Because one thing we need to know about the purifier is that once they die, they have a chance to explode and to deal damage to everyone around them. If, however, we kill them with an explosive, that chance becomes guaranteed, and considering the commander's 14 hit points, that is exactly what we're going for. First things first though, let's soften them up with Praetor Mox, keeping in mind that this does not end his turn.
I am revealed.
Still, to follow things up, we are now launching a grenade with Nicholas, targeting both the purifier as well as the Viper.
Grenade out! I'm spotted.
Okay, so that dealt 6 points of damage to the commander and also removed their cover, but even though they are now exposed, we will first try to take out the Viper, and once again, Ranger Starfall Antek has a pretty good chance of doing so.
Enemy eliminated.
Okay, so things are definitely going smoothly here, maybe except for the fact that Sniper Smooth B now no longer has a squad side shot, even though he was still able to fire at the commander as long as they were behind cover. This now robs us of what would have been a high percentage, high damage shot, but I guess we'll have to make do with what we have, and that brings us back to Praetor Mox. Using teamwork, he can now give an extra action to his bonded teammate Nicholas Finlay, who in turn will use that to simply launch another grenade, this time at the only 2 remaining enemies on the battlefield.
Take this!
And again, not having a squad side shot with our sharpshooter here is a bit of a shame. He would have had a great chance to kill the commander now, so instead we now have to opt for the pistol shot, although we are using the Shadowkeeper's Shadowfall ability to at least guarantee that. Now at this point, the only soldier we have left to act with on this turn is Specialist Van the Dam Dyke.
Verstanden. Bewege mich zum Ziel. Wurde gesehen.
And before we do anything, we want to take note of the fact that the field commander is very likely in dashing range of the evac zone. However, I have noticed that unlike our troops, Advent will not or cannot use evac after dashing, which means we are safe here for one more alien turn. The commander will definitely spend the entire turn making a beeline for the evac zone, and that leaves only the stun lancer, who we can now disable for one turn with the frost bomb.
Advent's transport is in position for the evac. Don't let the general escape.
And again, Bradford warns us about what might be about to happen here, but as you can see, the general remains, at least for now.
The Advent general is getting close to their evac point. Don't let him get away.
Now, with the general on fire, we could actually take a gamble and see if that already kills them off before they can escape, but of course we are not going to do that, so let us take aim from above with Van Dyke, although at the stun lancer.
Feind erledigt.
That's the kill, and also some loot, which should now have an extra item for us after signing the Vulture Resistance Order, and we will pick that up automatically as soon as we finish the mission, which is hopefully going to happen next as Praetor Mox once again uses his Justice ability.
Justice comes for all. They live no more.
Menace 1-5, kill confirmed. That's how it's done. We have confirmation. Mission accomplished.
And there we are, a flawless mission, 9 out of 9 kills, and the commander has been prevented from escaping. I think that went about as well as it could have, so let's reward ourselves with a lovely mission photo, and then we can head back home to hand out some promotions.
Fellow citizens, it is with deep regret that I must inform you that the criminals among us who would dare see our union fail have sunken so low as to attack a peaceful civilian under the employ of Advent. Remain vigilant and rest assured we will stop at nothing to prevent these grievous attacks.
False vision. That is the purpose of all skirmishers. Until it is done, there can be no other path for us.
Alright, just the two of them, Starfall and Van Dyke. Other than that, we have no injuries and also no one who's tired. So let's begin with our Ranger, who can now choose between Shadow Strike and Shadow Step. After passing over Phantom at the corporal level, Shadow Step seems like the way to go here, but we actually want to go with Shadow Strike here because the ability works a little bit differently than advertised. Yes, the description here mentions that Shadow Strike can only be used when concealed, but what it actually means is that it can be used as long as the target cannot see our Ranger. And as we will find out soon, those are two very different things, meaning that this can be triggered much more often than it might at first seem. So that's what we're going with, and that brings us to Van the Damn Dyke, and for him the decision-making process is a bit more straightforward. With him, we are very much going down the tree of Combat Hacker, and that means Haywire Protocol is next. So from here on out, he will actually be able to take control of robotic enemies, and even though we have not yet met a lot of those, believe me, they will come. In the loot report, we can then also see what we've actually picked up during this mission, and next to the enemy corpses, we have picked up a hair trigger and a stock, both certainly not the most useful weapon attachments, but again, at this stage in the game, we'll take everything that we can get, and if we can't find a use for them, we can still sell them. Now, since this was our first encounter with a Viper, we have now also unlocked the corresponding autopsy, although for the time being we will stay focused on unlocking magnetic weapons.
You and your crew have dealt another serious blow to the aliens' efforts today, Commander. Impressive work.
During the mission debrief, we can then also see not only have we received 155 supplies, the unknown dark event is also revealed to us, and it was an alien cipher. This is actually pretty good, because this dark event would have doubled all intel costs for 1 month, which would have made making contact with our next resistance region quite a bit more difficult. Instead, we can now still do that for the original 160 supplies, and we're getting quite close to that, so who knows, perhaps in the next episode we can already expand our small resistance movement. Until then, let's make the cut in this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, then I would of course be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.